Dr. Doom sat in brooding silence on his iron throne, the flickering torches casting jagged shadows across the vast chamber of Castle Doom. His gaze, as cold as the Latverian winters, fixed on the floor beneath him, though his mind churned with unrest. It had been weeks since the nightmares began, visions so vivid and harrowing they left his impervious mind shaken. In these dreams, Latveria was engulfed in chaos, its people dragged away in chains by shadowy invaders. The screams of his subjects echoed in his ears long after he awoke, their terror a haunting refrain. He never spoke of these dreams, not to his advisors, his guards, or the people who regarded him as their unyielding savior. Doom was a fortress, both in body and spirit, yet this recurring nightmare gnawed at his resolve. Each night it returned, and each morning he awoke with a sense of dread that he had never known before. These visions were more than mere dreams. They were omens. And Doom, a man of intellect and reason, found himself consumed by their implications. His thoughts turned incessantly to the defense of Latveria. He ordered fortifications strengthened, patrols doubled, and his already formidable magical wards reinforced. Yet, none of this quelled the unease that lingered in his soul. It was as if the very foundation of his power was crumbling beneath him. Days blurred into nights as his mind raced, his focus so fractured that he began to feel his strength waning. The great Victor von Doom, ruler, scientist, sorcerer, felt himself slipping into a vulnerability he dared not admit. One gray morning, as storm clouds gathered over Latveria, an envoy arrived at the gates of the castle. The guards, unnerved by the figure's appearance, reported to their master that the visitor claimed to be from the realm of hell itself, sent by none other than Mephisto. Doom, ever skeptical of such theatrics, ordered the envoy brought before him. Yet, as the figure entered the throne room, an icy tension filled the air. The envoy's appearance was both unsettling and alluring. Cloaked in crimson, with eyes like embers, he moved with an unnatural grace. His voice was smooth, yet carried a venomous undertone. "Lord Doom," he began with a bow, "my master has taken note of your plight. He wishes to offer his assistance." Doom's eyes narrowed. "State your purpose and leave. I have no time for riddles." The envoy's lips curled into a sly smile. "Your dreams, my lord. My master knows of them, the invasion, the despair, the helplessness." Doom's hands clenched the armrests of his throne. "Speak plainly. What does Mephisto want?" The envoy's smile widened, revealing unnaturally sharp teeth. "Not want, my lord. Offer. My master wishes to grant you the power to ensure Latveria's eternal safety, to make you stronger than any mortal could ever hope to be." Doom rose from his throne, his towering figure casting a shadow over the envoy. "And what does your master require in return?" he demanded, though a part of him was already drawn to the promise of power. The envoy feigned humility. "A gift freely given from one ruler to another." Doom's intellect warned him of the trap, yet the temptation was undeniable. For Latveria, for his people, and perhaps for himself, he considered the proposition. The envoy produced a scroll, its parchment dark and shimmering with infernal runes, and placed it before Doom. "Sign," the envoy said, his voice almost a whisper, "and the nightmares will end. Your strength will surpass all imagination. Latveria will be untouchable." Doom hesitated but for a moment. The weight of his sleepless nights, the images of his people's suffering, and his own insatiable hunger for power tipped the scales. With a flourish, he signed his name, the quill scratching against the parchment like a blade on stone. The moment the ink dried, the room erupted in flames. The envoy let out a triumphant laugh as his form shifted and expanded, revealing the true visage of Mephisto. Horns curved from his skull, his crimson skin glowed like molten lava, and his eyes burned with malice. "You fool," Mephisto sneered, holding the signed contract aloft. "Did you think such power would come without cost?" Doom's voice boomed with fury. "What trickery is this?" But before he could act, a cacophony of screams rose from outside. Rushing to the window, Doom beheld a horrifying sight. His people, their bodies wreathed in spectral flames, being dragged into the earth by clawed hands. The sky above Latveria churned with blood-red clouds as demonic creatures swarmed the streets. "Your soul," Mephisto said, his voice oozing satisfaction, "and the souls of your people. Oh my." Doom turned, his hands crackling with arcane energy. "You dare betray Doom?" Mephisto laughed, his form dissipating like smoke. "You betrayed yourself, Victor. Enjoy your power, while it lasts." As Mephisto vanished, Doom's newfound strength surged within him, but it brought no solace. He fell to his knees in the center of the throne room, the cries of his people echoing through the castle. His fist struck the stone floor, the force cracking the tiles beneath him. The room seemed to shrink around him, the weight of his folly pressing down like an unrelenting tide. For the first time in his life, Victor von Doom, ruler of Latveria, master of science and sorcery, felt powerless. The flames that had engulfed the room now flickered dimly, their light casting long shadows as Doom knelt, consumed by rage, regret, and the haunting laughter of Mephisto that still echoed in his ears. And so he remained, a solitary figure in the oppressive silence of his throne room, his dreams of power turned to ashes. It began with Mephisto's departure, a retreat filled with venomous laughter that echoed through the halls of Castle Doom. The air was thick with an oppressive heat, and the stench of sulfur lingered, a grim reminder of the infernal presence that had been there. Victor von Doom, clad in his iron armor, stood atop the castle walls, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the fires of hell had momentarily subsided. But he knew better than to trust the reprieve. The war was far from over. Mephisto had unleashed his minions upon Latveria, grotesque creatures born of hellfire and malevolence, whose sole purpose was to claim the souls of Doom's people. These monstrosities rampaged through the villages and fields, their claws tearing through flesh, their fiery breath reducing homes to ash. Doom had sworn to protect his people, and that vow burned brighter in his heart than any infernal flame. Descending from the battlements, Doom joined the battle himself, his ironclad hands crackling with arcane energy. He waded into the chaos, striking down hellspawn with unrelenting fury. Bolts of green lightning surged from his gauntlets, searing through the ranks of the demonic horde. The ground trembled beneath his boots as he unleashed his wrath, every strike a testament to his determination to save his people. Yet, no matter how many he destroyed, more came, pouring from the infernal gates Mephisto had left open. For months, Latveria was a battleground. Doom's people, inspired by their ruler's courage, took up arms to defend their homes. They fought alongside their master, though they were no match for the supernatural invaders. The nights were filled with screams, and the days brought only brief respite. Mephisto's patience wore thin. His servants failed to capture the castle, and Doom's defiance enraged him beyond measure. In his fury, Mephisto summoned the Ghost Rider, a being as relentless as he was feared, charged with the task of breaking Doom and delivering the souls of Latveria. The rider's arrival was heralded by an otherworldly roar. The sound of chains rattling in the distance grew louder as he approached, his motorcycle's wheels blazing with hellfire. Along his journey, the rider swept up wandering spirits and sent them screaming into the abyss, his fiery vengeance consuming all in his path. Doom felt the rider's presence long before he arrived. From the highest point of his castle, he sensed the growing aura of damnation. It was unlike any of Mephisto's other minions. This was a force of nature, a harbinger of doom in every sense. Steeling himself, Doom prepared for what he knew would be his greatest battle. He fortified the castle's defenses, instructed his people to hide, and climbed to the parapets to await his adversary. The night the rider arrived, the city was cloaked in an unnatural darkness. Only the flames of his motorcycle illuminated the ruined streets. The air was heavy with dread, and not a soul dared to move. Doom watched from his perch as the rider dismounted, his skeletal visage wreathed in flames. The tension was palpable as the two forces met in the city's shattered square. Time seemed to freeze, the world holding its breath for the clash that would decide Latveria's fate. Doom struck first, unleashing a torrent of lightning that sent the rider crashing into a crumbling wall. But the rider rose unscathed, his flaming skull a beacon of indomitable will. He advanced, swinging his fiery chain with deadly precision. Doom dodged and countered, his gauntlets glowing with magic as he hurled blasts of energy at his foe. The battle was relentless, each blow shaking the very ground beneath them. Sparks flew as metal met chain, and the air crackled with unholy power. Despite Doom's formidable magic and armor, the rider was relentless. He absorbed every attack, his vengeance fueling him beyond the limits of mortal endurance. Doom's strikes grew slower, his movements heavier. The rider's chain wrapped around Doom's armor, dragging him to his knees. It was then that the rider prepared to deliver the final blow, the penance stare, a punishment that would sear Doom's soul with the weight of his sins. But something gave the rider pause. He looked beyond Doom and saw the city, its people huddled in fear, their lives hanging by a thread. He saw their desperation, their innocence, and the cruel irony of their plight. Doom was not without sin, but these people, they were victims. To destroy their protector would doom them all to Mephisto's wrath. The rider released Doom, letting him fall to the ground. Staggering to his feet, Doom looked at his adversary in astonishment. "Why?" he demanded, his voice hoarse. The rider's voice was a guttural growl. "I serve vengeance, not tyranny. Mephisto's will is his own, not mine. If you would protect them, stand and fight." In that moment, the oppressive darkness deepened. A crimson light bathed the city as the sky split open. From the rift descended Mephisto, his form colossal and wreathed in flames, his laughter shaking the heavens. The demon's eyes burned with fury as he surveyed the scene, his wrath focused on the two figures below. Doom and the Ghost Rider stood side by side, their gazes locked on the descending devil. Whatever enmity they had was set aside, replaced by a shared purpose. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, Doom felt a flicker of hope. Together, they would face the storm. And as Mephisto's shadow enveloped them, the fate of Latveria hung in the balance.